This is a member of the board of a company. This is a co-founder of a company that is being alleged to have helped US AI technology go over to China. How much is that an issue for the administration?
It should be top of mind, quite frankly. The entire future of business, but also warfare and parts of everyday life really does tie directly to artificial intelligence, which by default ties directly to chips. It's been on the minds for the past couple of administrations, but the fact that we have this new development is a pretty strong signal that perhaps somebody has taken their eye off the ball. It's not great.
It's not great. And in many ways, it comes at a moment where we are overwhelmed with geopolitical news, and in some way it gets buried. But Amy, in terms of steps that you think will be taken, look, we are anticipating a meeting at some point. It might be delayed between Xi Jinping and President Trump. Technology is something that's going to be discussed. What does it mean for the relationship going forward?
So I think it's important to bear in mind that this is the month that China is releasing its next 5-year plan. And it's been very public about its preparations for artificial intelligence over the next 10 years. This is not about funding a couple of great companies and hoping everything works out. They are making significant and substantial structural changes throughout the entire country. That is infrastructure, that is electricity, that is changing the education system, all in lockstep. So I think that we historically have underestimated China in terms of its military, economic, and diplomatic capabilities, and I think that is coming to roost now.
Amy, the Supermicro case we're discussing is very specifically the allegation that an individuals broke the law. It was a contravention of export controls. That is completely separate legally from the debate about whether or not America should export its technology, right? Those in favor of exporting current generation accelerators to China say that if you don't, a vacuum's created and domestic names come in. Yeah. Where do you see the White House currently standing on that latter debate?
Well, I mean, look, the easiest way to understand the contours of that debate is looking at the telecommunications sector. Huawei has become dominant globally in exporting some of the core components that go into telecommunications. That has obviously given China a leg up. You know, we really need to think strongly about what we're creating and what we're exporting and how we are starting to exert our opinions in different markets around the world. Again, coming back to the relationship for just a moment, you know, we've got a war in the Middle East. We have economics issues here in the U.S. We've got a potential or ongoing, depending on your point of view, chip and AI war between the United States and China. This is a multi-front issue that this administration is dealing with across a multitude of different technologies, different geopolitical outcomes. You know, this is something that I don't think we can afford to brush aside, whether or not it was a single actor. The point is, this is one of, you know, several cases where we've had to have a good hard look at chips between the U.S. and China.
Amy, this past weekend, you gave a keynote at South by Southwest, and you announced that after 18 years, you're killing your tech trends report. And you've basically, and correct me in my summary, said that there's no point in looking at backward-looking data and trends. You now have a convergence outlook. In the time we have left, about 60 seconds, explain it to us.
Sure. We did throw a funeral this weekend for the thing that we were most famous for. Look, executives are very caught up in what is trendy versus what are the longitudinal changes impacting their organizations, the market, their ability to compete. Rather than tracking individual trends, it's incredibly important that they start looking at the intersection between trends and uncertainties and catalysts. Those are called convergences. Every boardroom, every leader needs to start tracking those seriously, because the fate of their ability to survive and weather the storms that are ahead are dependent on having that information at their fingertips.